Take a breath, step outside. Greetings! Indigenous Ways acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Turtle Island and pays respects to the elders past and present. We want to take this time to acknowledge traditional owners and ancestors of these lands we reside on here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the Pueblo people, and wherever you are beaming in from, to acknowledge the traditional owners and ancestors of the lands so we could all be here at this moment. Anyway, thank you for your time beaming in, watching, whether that be live or the recording, whether that be on our social media or on our website, IndigenousWays.org. We're really stoked. We're on sabbatical in the months of June and July. So what we're doing is going through the archives, which we started on the 1st of April 2020, the Indigenous Ways Virtual Events. So we're taking like the most favored that you've told us about. And also we recently did a festival, the Indigenous Healing Festival, and so taken presenters from that. Today, we're really thrilled because we're bringing you the youth. And our first speaker is Joshua Dixon, who is from the Navajo Nation. He is actually here in Santa Fe at the Institute of American Indian Arts as a student. He will be presenting, and also these two incredible students from the Santa Fe Indian School. We have Jade, Rael, and also Sydnie, Pino. So you're going to enjoy Joshua, who is up first, who is speaking about not only his traditions and the traditional songs from his grandparents that he learned, but also his perspectives as a two-spirit, gay, proud young man as he shares his journey with us. So please enjoy the incredible Josh as he speaks from his heart and as he brings his ancestors in to touch you all very deeply. Let's give it up for Joshua Dixon.
My name is Joshua Dixon. Ash che'en shlon aro to heglini e bashish chin ye itene etkachi ni e dashet she aro tkapaha e dashenale aron le duji bakot khahint a yesi den nasha akot a e yatenen shle. And to translate that into English, I just said that, well, I began by introducing myself, which is by saying my clan, and that is Kashche. And I also said my father's clan, as well as my grandfather's clan and my father's father's clan. Also, I am originally from a place called Montezuma Creek. The name in Navajo actually means like where all the, let's see, what's it mean? Where all the bushes go join into the river or something like that. But that, anyways, that's in Utah, Utah on the Navajo reservation. And I also concluded by saying that all of that is how I am Navajo. That all makes me Navajo. And I say that because that kind of just ties myself to my relatives out there, whoever is related to me, whoever is, my same clan or whatever other clan there is just establishing that relationship to other people. I'll also let's see. So that's who I am. That's where I'm from. Those are my clans. I am from the Navajo reservation, and I am part of the Navajo tribe. And I was asked to do this wisdom circle, and so I think I can probably. I think I'll begin by singing a few songs. And then also what I wanted to do too with this is I wanted to kind of share my story and how I learned the culture, you know, how I learned some of the songs that I know, and share that with other people. So hopefully it motivates other people to do the same thing. And I'll get into that later. However, for now, I can probably sing a song. I actually don't have a drum or anything, so I kind of just use whatever I have around. This is what I use for my pottery when I do my pottery. That'll kind of provide enough of that bass or something in there. But anyways, so I'll begin with a song, and then I'm going to get into talking about just my story a little bit. All right. So this song is a corn grinding song, and this song is very rhythmic. So the reason why it's like this is because when the women are grinding corn, you know, it's a really laborious process. It takes a lot of work to grind corn. If you have ever ground it, what they use is they use 2 stones and they grind it like this, and they have to push in all their weight back and forth. And it's, especially during like a ceremony time, it takes a lot of work to get all the corn ground. So these songs are meant to accompany those chores, those work activities, to make it easier to kind of, you know, get the work done and stuff like that. So that's just what I tell people, to remind them, you know, all of these songs kind of have a purpose and a context to why they're being sung. But since it's fall right now and it's corn is being harvested, I thought I'd sing this song for you guys. Hey yeah yang ay ya hey ya hey ay she yang wa le how is on the di ay oh ay ya hey ya yang ay ya hey ay oh ay ya hey yang ay hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey. All right, so that was first set of corn grinding songs that I sing. You know, they all of these songs can be sing for as long duration as is needed to get the corn grinding done. But a lot of these songs also they throw in some lyrics, but a lot of it is vocables. So it's really good, you know, especially once you feel that rhythm to kind of, you know, that's the best part of the song is the rhythm. But once it gets more into the lyrics, I can translate a few more of that. But let me just get a quick glass of water here. All right. Hello, say, Westland. Hello, say, Westland. No, Westland. Hello, say, Westland. No, Westland. Oh, wait, ho, oh, hey, hey, Westland. Hey, 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 hey. Hello, say, Westland. Hello, say, Westland. No, Westland. Hello, say, Westland. No, Westland. Oh, wait, ho, oh, hey, hey, Westland. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, hey, ho, oh, hey, hey, Westland. Hey, 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 hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey, hey. Away, bamo, away, cho, away. Hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey. Hastily, go, way, hey. Hastily, go, way, hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey. Shate, hey, shate, hey. Hey, 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 hey. Away, bamo, away, show, away. Hey, away, bamo, away, show, away. Hey, away, bamo, away, show, away. Hey, 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 hey. Away, bamo, away, cho, away. Hey, 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 hey. Hastily gonna go away, hey. Hastily gonna go away, hey. Job take a sadly go away, hey. Hey, 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 hey. Shate at that, hey, Shate at that, hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey. Nah. So I really like those songs. I really like singing those songs a lot because when I hear those songs, I can. Usually, there's a whole there's more people singing than just one person, and that way, when everybody's singing all together, it really elevates the energy. And you could see, like in the beginning, I probably started off kind of quiet, but then by the end, I got louder. That's because, you know, just remembering hearing it being sung and everything helps me sing it louder because there's usually a group of people singing it. But that song actually it says, "Oh wait, bamo, oh wait, it's away, which is saying the baby's mom is talking to the baby. The mother is telling the mother that the baby's crying, because especially corn grinding was something that was done by women. So that's why it's saying that it's telling the mother that the baby's crying again. That's what awet means baby, and yicha means it's crying. So that's like really, there's all sorts of lyrics in there that are really interesting. You can really see the scene of what it looks like. So those are the corn grinding songs. I would sing Da songs, but it's kind of getting a little bit late for Da. Da is what they sing during the summer. It's part of one of our summertime ceremonies that we have. And I know I have a lot of those songs that are on Facebook that people like to listen to. But what I wanted to do mainly with this time that I have here, I wanted to share a bit of my story, who I am, and how I came to learn the songs that I learned, because that's something that I get a lot of questions, and I think maybe sometimes people are they're not used to seeing people my age singing songs like that. And they're not used to hearing people my age speaking Navajo. Even though I can barely speak Navajo. I can speak it okay. But what I wanted to do was just share that story a little bit, just to give some other people that might be my own age, or parents to people my own age, just a little bit of insight into how that process unfolded for me, so that maybe they can replicate something similar within their own life. I will say that for me, I'm from the reservation. I grew up on the reservation. I lived there all my life, from Montezuma Creek, Utah. And I guess that's kind of, that's where I was born. But I grew up with my grandpa and my grandma. And I know that for me, I used to go down to my grandparents' house a lot. And that's where I was introduced to, my Navajo identity in a way. Because before that, I wasn't unlike a lot of other people my own age. Meaning, I watched TV most of the time, played video games and all of that. I didn't really know what it meant to be Navajo, besides, just sometimes when my mom would be talking to my grandma, sometimes I wouldn't understand what she's saying, just as simple as that is all I really was aware of. But with my grandparents is really where I kind of, and especially my grandpa, just spending time with him and asking him questions and things like that. He's the one who really taught me a lot about what it means to be Navajo. And, not even directly either, too. Just, I think the way I learned most of the things that I did is I just asked him about how things were when he was young, and encouraged him to open up about that. And I know what sets, how I did that. I know what sets that apart from my siblings too, even, and a lot of other Navajo kids my own age is, everybody wants to go run outside and play, and then, you know, grandpa will be in the corner of the table, coffee table, kitchen table, just talking. Nobody wants to have the patience to sit there, but I think that's where a lot of what I learned and what I learned and where I learned a lot of the culture from, and just hearing those stories, and listening to my grandma too speak as well. And but what something else too I would like to say as well is, it wasn't easy, even though, like, you know, there's people that are willing to speak up about the culture. I know that for myself, uh, a lot of there's a lot of barriers between, you know, our younger generation and our culture, because, you know, I don't think it's not that we don't want to learn our culture and to speak our language. It's also that there's a lot of shame too involved with the culture and in learning the culture and stuff like that. And so, you know, for me, that's really what I had to overcome in a lot of ways, is to overcome a lot of the shame, and like feeling embarrassed to speak the language and feeling embarrassed to sing the songs. And, you know, a lot of that, I think, has to go back to, you know, I attribute a lot of that to, like, probably boarding school is where, like, a lot of shame was learned, going back to our grandparents, and then on to our own parents, and then finally with our generation. But anyways, you know, a lot of that can get pretty heavy, and so I don't want to spend too much time in talking about that. But what I would like to say though is, even though I encountered a lot of those things in my own life, I think what really helped me move past that is just, you know, I would say just kind of lost my train of thought here. I think just deciding for myself what I wanted in my own life, in a way. And I think it's kind of difficult to really summarize right now, but just kind of, I think what was most empowering for me is just realizing that, you know, a lot of the power when it comes to learning my own culture came from within myself. And I think the reason why I kind of was in tune with that is because, especially, you know, like with growing up being gay too on the reservation and being different in that way, I think what I really appreciated with my with who I am, and in this and in what kind of life I want to live, what I really appreciated was just being able to be myself and being able to be who I am. And part of that meant embracing my Navajo culture and embracing my Navajo history and my history as a Native American person. And for me, I attribute that to, ever since I was young, I was aware that I was different because I was gay, you know. And I think everybody has something like that they can relate to, feeling, like they're, something about them isn't, it's hard for them to embrace at first, and they feel like they can't be themselves. So for me, that was with, just being gay and having to come out and do all of that. That's where I really embraced being who I was. And so just bringing that together with, and that didn't stop with just being gay. That was also, my clan, which is Kashche, my Navajo clan, which goes to my mother and my grandmother. So all of that, embracing who I am as being Kashche, my clan, and being Navajo, and the history that has with that, that's kind of what I developed an appreciation for that, and in being genuine and in being who I am. And it's kind of hard as far as embracing my own culture and embracing my own traditions and stuff like that, especially when I feel like we as a Navajo people have been so impacted, by other influences, like, especially with boarding school and assimilation and all these outside influences that have tried to take that away from us. Going back to boarding school with the whole kill the Indian, save the man kind of mentality, people actually willingly fought to keep us from our own culture and from our own history. And that in turn affected, the Navajo people today. And so, as far as the challenges in being Navajo and embracing my culture, the sad thing about it is sometimes, some of the barriers that I had to overcome were from my own people, were from within my own culture, because of the shame that has been kind of, taught within our communities. And, and definitely, even though I sing traditional songs and I speak Navajo as much as I can, definitely that was something that, that I experienced, even, from my own family, unintentionally. I don't think we necessarily intend to do this, or to perpetuate those cycles of shame. But what I find with, with people is that, whatever is learned to us in a way, especially when we're children, that affects us. And we pass that on to our own children a lot of times without, thinking about it too much. And so, especially when it goes back to our grandparents, and, when they were kids, with what they experienced going to boarding school, boarding school didn't necessarily have to be a traumatic experience either. But I think a lot of the message that a lot of people learned, even if they weren't, being abused or anything in any way, is the message that a lot of people were taught still, is just that, Native American people, Indian people, we're not as civilized, we're not as good as other people. And so those kinds of things got passed on through the generations.
Thank you so much, Joshua. If you just want more from Joshua, you can. Go and check out the archives, our video archives at IndigenousWays.org. There you'll be able to see more, not only from Joshua and his presentation at the Wisdom Circle, but also over 100 other presenters who are Indigenous, Native American, LGBTQIA, and or deaf and hard of hearing, who give their incredible wisdom during this time that we have been online, whether that be through resilience and rising, which was our theme in 2020, or this year the theme has been thriving in purpose. So thank you, Joshua, for sharing that with us in the virtual events. Our next two youth, which we have been so honored to meet, hail from the Santa Fe Indian School, where they graduated earlier this year. We're really honored to have them present at the Indigenous Healing Festival, which was last month. We are so honored to show them in here because it just gives me hope of our future generations. Not only seeing Joshua that you just experienced, but these two young women, Jade Rael, who is from the Picarias Pueblo, who is also a devoted artist and model, and also Sydnie Pino, who is from the San Ildefonso and Taos Pueblos. She's also pursuing to be a pediatric nurse. So in this presentation, where they look and navigate their thoughts of Indigenous healing wisdom versus Western medicine, and their ideas to healthy equality and healthy sovereignty. So wait to be blown away, jaws dropping. So with that, please give it up for Jade Rael and also Sydnie Pino.
Okay, so I guess hi everyone. My name is Jade Rael. I'm from Picarias Pueblo, and currently I'm a senior at the Santa Fe Indian School, but I will be going to UCLA this incoming fall. And as Ms. Harvitz has mentioned, I am a future healer. So today we'll be going over sovereign medicine and a bit of the connections and clashes between those. So first, we would like a land acknowledgement. Today we are organizing on the Tewa lands of the Taos and Picarias people. And with that, let's get into it. So for a bit of an overview, I will be going over an introduction of what is sovereign medicine. I will be also dabbling with Western medicine and traditional medicine and what are those. And we'll be going into the connections and clashes of how they're related and a little bit of how they differ also. For Sydnie's part of the presentation, she will be going over her own introduction on what is health equity and inequity. She'll also be going over the social determinants and their impacts on health, herbal and home-based remedies, and a cure for health inequities. And lastly, she'll be going over the support of Indigenous peoples in healthcare facilities. So first, for our introduction, what is sovereign medicine? So sovereign medicine in this context are the joined forces of both modern and traditional medicine practiced in Indigenous communities. It's important to keep this in mind because of how it affects traditional healers and Indigenous patients. And we kind of ask you throughout this presentation to kind of, think about it yourself. How can both traditional and Western medicine become better integrated within your own communities? And also how do we establish a relationship of understanding between the two? So into Western medicine and I guess what it is. In this context, Western medicine is medicine practiced here in the West, specifically in the Americas in present day. Western medicine often changes with new developments and is not really directly attached to any particular religion or spirituality. But I guess one of the flaws is that it can be an issue because many traditional communities have like additional considerations when treatment occurs and spirituality needs that usually or may be ignored in a Western dominant facility. So for traditional medicine, and I guess what that is, in this context, traditional medicine is medicine practiced in indigenous communities, again, most specifically here in the Americas, that has a bit of a historical and spiritual significance kind of specific to their practitioners and their patients. Because of its importance to indigenous communities, we kind of ask you, or I guess mention that it would be a benefit to traditional members if a cultural consideration was given as they were given treatment. We ask you also, like, is it not a right for community members to have access to culturally sensitive treatment? And you can create your own opinions on that. So on the connections and clashes, we'll be going over, I guess, how they're related and how do they differ. So both Western and traditional medicines are effective practices today. Both Western and traditional medicine's ultimate goal is to heal its patients. And usually, both Western and traditional medicine is practiced by like trained individuals. So like in the Western society, we have doctors or people given certificates. And in our traditional societies, we have like shamans or medicine men. So for Western medicine, it doesn't really have any like cultural sensitivity, and often it can ignore specific needs of tribal members. But Western medicine is equipped to adapt in modern times, being that it is essentially a modern invention. While traditional medicine carries a bit of a stigma in Western society, with many qualified practitioners kind of being aware of its importance if they're not directly in our indigenous communities. But traditional medicine is more heavily rooted within our history, and that can be sometimes unannounced to modern times, so it's, I guess, a little bit forgotten. So, and I will be presenting or shifting off to Sydnie. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me and see my screen okay?
Loud and clear and beautiful. Thanks, Sydnie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Unsengiti umbiak gandi nari hawa sokuat bere pobi na pohore owinge herat towinamu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sydnie Pino, and I am from the Pueblos of San Ildefonso and Taos. As mentioned before, I am a senior with the graduating class of 2021 at the Santa Fe Indian School, and as Ms. Harvest mentioned, I am a part of the Dream Makers program and the Health Careers Academy at the Santa Fe Indian School, and I am a future leader. Upon completion of high school, I wish to attend the University of New Mexico, where I can further my education in hopes of becoming a pediatric nurse. So without further ado, shifting gears a little bit, I'm going to talk about health equity along with social determinants and health inequity. Introduction: what is health equity and inequity? Health equity is ensuring that everyone has equal opportunities to be healthy and live a happy and healthy life, regardless of who they are or where they come from. It is also equal and quality health care for all. Health inequity is differences in health and health resources. It derives from social determinants of health. The main problem with health inequity and health equity is that in simple terminology, health equity is defined as equal and quality health care for all. It generally circulates around the idea of universal health care and is meant to provide medical access to every individual regardless of who they are or where they come from. It is a very broad issue and is one that is not talked about very often. This issue has and continues to bring forth great struggle to many of those who seek quality and proper healthcare in various healthcare facilities. With this being said, it is those of low income, such as the Pueblo communities, and even those of minorities who struggle with receiving adequate healthcare in healthcare facilities, which poses a lot of great issues in healthcare settings, such as illnesses, conditions, diseases, and even resulting in fatality and mortality. Taking a look at health equity, we will explore some of the history and some of the main points in which various historical events took place impacting health equity. Beginning with the 1921 Snyder Act, the Snyder Act provides authority for the expenditure of such funds as Congress may appropriate for the benefit, care, and assistance to Indians throughout the United States. So what the Snyder Act basically was that it was a government's promise and almost like a deal that they made to ensure that they were providing various resources, including healthcare to Indigenous communities and federally recognized tribes within their reservations. Next, we will take a look at the 1955 IHS establishment. This was the establishment of Indian health services on federally recognized Native American tribes on their reservations that provided access to healthcare and just healthcare resources in general. Next, we will take a look at the 1976 Indian Healthcare Improvement Act. The act implements the federal responsibility for the care and education of the Indian people by improving the services and facilities of federal Indian health programs. So like the Snyder Act, the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act was a promise by the federal government to federally recognized Indian tribes to be able to provide education and healthcare services to Native Americans on their reservations and being able to grant them these resources that they needed. Next, we will take a look at the 1985 Heckler Report. The Heckler Report is released, which documented the existence of health disparities among racial and ethnic minorities in the United States. So the Heckler Report was a very big deal because it was the first attempt to address health disparities within minority groups, which specifically impacted Native American and Indigenous communities as well, being that they are minority groups. Next, we will take a look at the 2003 the Healthcare Equality and Accountability Act. This act passes to improve minority health and healthcare and eliminate racial and ethnic disparities in health and healthcare. So like the Heckler Report, the Healthcare Equality and Accountability Act helped to bring awareness to health disparities and just kind of fight against the injustices in healthcare systems toward ethnic and racial groups. Social determinants and their impacts on health. What are social determinants? So social determinants are social and economic factors or conditions that influence differences in health status for a specific group or people. They are generally circulated around factors such as race, ethnicity, education, income, social status, environment, employment, and health insurance, and etc. And social determinants, many individuals don't fall within the expectations just the expectations of social determinants, which poses a lot of great stresses and a lot of great struggles for various groups of people, especially minorities in healthcare facilities when trying to be able to receive adequate healthcare in these facilities. The effects of social determinants on Native communities. So with taking a look at the current state of the issue, with this being the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a lot of times within this pandemic that a lot of social determinants within healthcare settings were revealed. And with this being one of them close to home here in New Mexico is within the Laguna and Acoma Pueblos. What had happened a few months back was there was some controversy that took place between the Acoma and Laguna Pueblos, allowing for the shutdown and lack of funding of one of their main hospitals, which was the Acoma Condencita Laguna Healthcare Center. And with what had happened was, again, there was a lack of funding by the government, which posed for the hospital to shut down. And this was a great struggle for those of Acoma and Laguna Pueblos because this hospital was their main source of healthcare, and it was very close to home for these individuals to be able to receive their healthcare needs. And being that the hospital closed down, it allowed for them to have to travel outside of their communities quite a distance to either the communities of Albuquerque or Grants. And it was a very frustrating time for both the Acoma and Laguna Pueblos. And as Sanchu mentions in this quote, I honestly don't know where we are supposed to go for health issues or dental issues anymore. I'm scared to reach out to other hospitals because I don't have health insurance. And as mentioned by Saraceno as well, that was kind of our lifeline. We didn't have to go very far for healthcare, and awareness needs to be made that people do live in rural New Mexico and we need healthcare. So as we can see with these quotes, the social determinants played a huge factor with these communities during the COVID-19 pandemic, being that many individuals didn't have healthcare and were scared to go into other healthcare facilities, and just not being able to have that resource that they need, especially in the time of need and a time of crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic. Herbal and home-based remedies, a cure for health inequities. How can herbal and home-based remedies be a source of healing? Herbal and home-based remedies can be a source of healing by being able to have quick access to resources and various things for medicinal purposes in a time crunch or in the event that you're not able to see your doctor right away or be able to go to a healthcare facility right away. The purpose of herbal and home-based remedies is just for a temporary cure, maybe for illnesses such as a common cold, sore throat, itchy throat, digestion, immunity. However, herbal and home-based remedies necessarily aren't meant for other conditions such as cancers. So if using herbal and home-based remedies, my personal suggestion would be to ensure that you are consulting with your doctors and ensuring that taking herbal and home-based remedies is the right approach and being knowledgeable of when it is appropriate to use and when they are not appropriate to use. So this year, through the Santa Fe Indian School, I worked on my senior honors project that focused on health equity for low-income Native American communities. In hopes of addressing health inequities and health disparities, I conducted a community health outreach on Friday, March 19, 2021. That was a virtual online learning experience that was conducted through Zoom. In hopes of preparation for the senior project, a flyer was sent out via social media to spread the word about the event. After or attached to the flyer was a link for a Google form to register where participants could register for the event, and upon registration, a Zoom link was sent out to those who wished to participate. So within the community outreach, I had 2 presenters, 1 elder and 1 youth from Taos Pueblo, who presented on herbal and home-based remedies. I chose to choose an elder and the younger generations just to kind of hear various different perspectives from different generations, just to kind of give my audience an idea and be able to hear from both perspectives. So again, it was an online virtual learning experience where it was very interactive. The participants interacted with the presenters and asked various questions. And there was also a demonstration that I conducted where I demonstrated how to make a home cough syrup out of apple cider vinegar, honey, and lemon juice. And it was just an overall great experience, not only for myself, but for my participants, in hopes of bringing awareness and sharing information about health disparities and inequities. Again, this connected to my bigger project goal to explore and share solutions for home-based health for Native individuals facing issues of access to healthcare because of health inequities. And the reason I chose to do this community outreach was to be able to provide the information and educate my community members, not only my community members, but all Indigenous communities about the issues of health inequities and health disparities, and be able to bring awareness and educate individuals so that they can be advocates for themselves in health care settings and facilities. In conclusion, this was my solution of how to address health inequity issues in my community through health sovereignty, and it is just one example. I also studied examples from cultures around the world facing issues similar to these, such as the countries of Egypt and sub-Saharan Africa, just to kind of see the bigger issues of systemic change to address inequities as well. I hope you are all inspired to ask how you can create solutions in your communities and healthcare systems too.
For the conclusions and a bit of a thank you, some acknowledgements and some resources. So thank you, Sydnie. So here are the research publications that Sydnie had for her SHP, which is still ongoing, and you guys should check her out if you have the time. And here are some of our resources. If you'd like to learn more or support sovereign medicine, there's a few places you can actually do that. So first, there's a Native Health Initiative, which me and Sydnie have the honor of being a part of. There's also the Institute of American Indian Arts, which has their own presentations, kind of similar to sovereign medicine, called Four Directions Projections. And there's also the Urban Indian Health Institute, where you can also learn more about supporting sovereign medicine. And I guess for our final thank yous, if you have any questions, here are our emails right here. And thank you so much for your time and attention, and for just being here. I think your space and taking your time here shows that I don't know, we're capable of change. So with that, thank you.
Oof. I'd like to say, didn't I tell you? Was that something or what? Even, I could watch that time and time again for the hope of our future generations when we have got extraordinary role models like Jade, like Sydnie, like Joshua. Really proud to hear these extraordinary youth. If you want to see more from Jade and Sydnie's presentation, please go to IndigenousWays.org, our video library, and there they will be archived in the Indigenous Healing Festival after their names. That is just a small snippet, and as they continue in their presentation, also the interaction from the audience is something you've just got to take hold of and watch, because it is just really good for the soul of what you and I can do to keep protecting Mother Earth for 7 generations to come. Anyway, we're about at that time. During this time of COVID, or since May last year, we've been going up to the Navajo Nation and doing relief runs. That is thanks to you that has been possible. On the 1st and 2nd of July, we'll be returning back again. So if you want to support us in that, this will be our 13th relief run there. We're also taking potable water to a community. Actually, Tasha's grandmother hails from Black Mountain, and the community up there, which is very remote and isolated in Arizona. You can find out more about what we've been doing on our website, IndigenousWays.org. We'll also tell you more about that as time goes on. But for now, whether you're watching this from Turtle Island and out enjoying the summer, or if you're from down under, and giving a shout out to all the people that have been watching it down there. Great to get all those comments, social media and so forth. Thank you so much for tuning in, taking in these incredible presenters that we've really appreciated in the short time that we've been doing. So for now, we'll look forward for you tuning in next week, where we can present some more of this extraordinary presenters that we've had the privilege to hear, see, and support in the last 14 months. But until then, please stay safe. If you haven't had the opportunity to have a vaccine, please do. And I say that because in New Mexico, where we live, we're on 57.3%, wanting to get up to 60% of people getting shot. If you're not living on Turtle Island, this is what we have done for the last 14 months. We've stayed inside our house. That has been our isolation for the last 14 months, just going out wherever we can. Now we're in summer, things have changed up a little bit, but again, we'll be going back into the fall and also the winter. So who knows what that will be, but thank you for connecting with us. Thank you for keeping safe, being responsible, as Joseph Marshall said last week. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do, with Elder Kathy, who is also presenting with them. For now, stay safe, be well, and we'll look forward to seeing you for another virtual events next week. From Tash and also from myself, Elena, have a great time. Touch the earth, touch the earth.